Good evening and welcome to tonight's school committee of Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. I'm going to use my new gavel and call this meeting to order. So we'll start this meeting like we do every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And like we do at every meeting, I'm going to read the mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. I don't believe we have anybody here for a public comment. We don't have anybody in person. I don't think we've got anybody online, so we'll go ahead and proceed with the agenda. Consent agenda, Mr. Markham. We've got some minutes to approve.
We do, yes, thank you. I move the school committee approve the minutes of the June 29, 2021 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the June 25, 2021 school committee finance and facilities subcommittee meeting and the minutes of the June 30th, 2021 school committee student services subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. I did send a couple of minor kind of typo comments over to Judy to take care of, so that those will be all set. There were nothing kind of note really. So that's all set. Any other questions? All right, if not, all in favor? All opposed? That was a 6-0 unanimous, not unanimous, but 6-0 vote. We don't have any budget items tonight because Christine is on vacation. We're going to cover her stuff in August. So that brings the agenda to comments from me. The only real comments that I have are about the upcoming retreat. So you guys should have gotten an email from me on Monday. Doug and I met with Dorothy Presser from the MASC, who's going to facilitate the meeting. We had a conversation on Monday morning, spoke with her a little bit about the agenda, the proposed items, how we wanted her to kind of facilitate the conversation. She gave us some great suggestions about kind of the order that we should probably do the session in. We will start at 8 o'clock with some breakfast, but get going right at 8:30. So we have a packed agenda, so it's important to have everybody there to start at 8:30. We are going to cover kind of communication in general. What are we doing well? Where do we have areas for growth and improvement? Thinking about social media. We're going to talk about working with unions and teachers. And how are we supposed to interact with them? We're going to review the operating norms. We're going to have some discussion about the logo update and kind of the logistics of how that's going to, how we're going to revisit that for the fall as part of the what we defined in the resolution. And then we'll have a working lunch that will focus on giving Doug and Kara some initial thoughts on district goals. So one thing that I don't think we did it in the year of COVID, but in previous years, we the superintendent would bring forward kind of the goals for the district, and then as part of the end of that process, we evaluate Doug and the superintendent on his performance kind of against those goals. So what we're trying to do is line ourselves up to be able to do that evaluation process this spring. So this will be a first opportunity for us to look at the district goals. They will not need to be finalized at the retreat. It's going to be an opportunity for us to hear them, give some feedback, and those will be refined through some of the leadership meetings that Doug and Kara will be having with principals and other leaders in the district. So that's really our plan. There will be probably some direction that I'll give you guys on some prep work that we'll need to do, but it'll be really limited. It's going to be taking another look at the norms and calling out anything that you want to specifically discuss, those kinds of things. Any questions? Stephen.
In terms of calling out things that we specifically want to discuss, is that something that we should send to you as chair, and then you can sort of pass that on to to Ms. Presser, or?
So when I said that, I meant kind of specifically in terms of the operating norms.
Okay.
So I don't think there's gonna be a lot of opportunity to bring other topics into this agenda, just because it's pretty tight. I think what we were hoping for, the norms and operating procedures, is all of you have seen that. We've talked a little bit about it in those first couple of meetings. But we do want to give everybody the opportunity to revisit anything that they need clarity on or have questions about. So the intent isn't to spend a lot of time going through item by item on that list, but more to have any of us say, hey, I'd like to discuss this one a little bit more because I'm not clear on it. And then we'll just shape and direct the conversation to focus on those items versus kind of reviewing the whole document together, because that would end up being kind of more time consuming. And we are trying to stick to the times that we have so that we can make sure that we get through everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do think there's going to be opportunity in the context of some of these other things to talk through. Mike and I were just out walking the track, getting caught up on student services topics, that there's probably some things that will flow into that come up in those meetings that we might want to talk about in the context of these agenda items. Same on communication, right? Of course, that's a whole agenda item. So I think there will be an opportunity for some other things to come in, but we do want to make sure we cover these topics.
Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions on that, Doug, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everyone. It feels like we've been off for quite a while, and it hasn't been very long.
It's only
right.
It really has only been 2
right.
weeks.
And so, the schedules that we were keeping prior to the last few weeks here has been pretty busy in that we saw each other usually a couple times a week. So it's feels good to be back. And so, just some comments and updates from myself and from us at central office. So yesterday there was an update that came out from the CDC in regard to COVID and mitigation strategies. So we are going to be working and collaborating with our local Board of Health, and we will be hearing from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed. And when we get more information from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed and from the Commissioner, Jeff Riley, we will kind of put something out updating any changes that we may be making in our mitigation strategies, both for the summer and as we open school in the fall, right? So I just want to mention that in case anyone has questions on that, And so I know when things come out on a Monday and when things come out on a Friday, and they're kind of not exactly in step with Massachusetts or with what's happening or what our practices are, it kind of creates a ripple in time and it raises a lot of questions. And I just want to let people know and let the committee know, of course, that we've received the information and we'll be collaborating with our local Board of Health and DESE to make any changes in our kind of safety strategies as we are working through the summer and as we prepare to open school in the fall. There likely will be an update in our first August meeting, if not sooner, right? If there's information that comes out sooner or there are any changes, we will make sure we'll get an email out to you first and then to the community. Does that make sense?
So I
Great.
just have a quick question on that.
Yeah.
So when the guidance comes out from CDC and DESE,
Mm-hmm.
is that guidelines or is that mandated?
Often it's guidelines.
Okay.
Right? And so, it's interesting. You raise a good point. So whose responsibility is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember when COVID started, where we started was all decisions were local.
Right.
And then they kind of reeled that in this last spring to say, all decisions are local except for the decisions that we're making now. And so, it's a kind of a combination.
Okay.
But I believe that they're going to be guidelines.
Okay.
Right,
So
and
it's something as a town that we can decide, or is it a state?
Well, I think our local Board of Health will advise us.
Okay.
And the state will advise us as well.
Okay.
And then we'll need to kind of put out kind of what we will be doing to kind of maintain or keep students safe.
Okay.
Right? So that's where we're at. But
Okay.
but likely when we go over that, Amy, we will be going over, we will revisit the mask policy, the wellness checks, our social distancing, and we'll be assessing kind of how we're going to manage vaccination information, as well as we will be kind of reassessing or kind of thinking more about screening and testing if that's, feasible, or if it's the best way for us to go.
Okay,
But that's kind of where we're at right now.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions before I shift gears on that?
I do have a quick question.
Of course.
I unfortunately did not see the CDC guidance that was given yesterday. Can you just give a high-level overview of what it was?
The CDC guidance is suggesting that the guidelines are that if you're unvaccinated, they are recommending that students be masked, or adults that are not. So vaccinations are only available for students 12 and older.
Right.
So from 2 to 12, you're not masked, or excuse me, they're recommending that you be masked while in the buildings. But the state and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed has said, you don't need to be masked. So that's how we've opened our summer school. And until that guidance changes, we need to kind of reconcile the two. That's why I say we will be collaborating with our local Board of Health and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed to kind of reconcile that, right?
And I would imagine that has a lot to do with vaccination rates, right? So some states have a higher vaccination rate, therefore the risk is lower, maybe. Okay, so I feel like the CDC put out guidance that last year that we really then came down at the state level. And I know you said to Amy it was more guidance, but I think there were a lot of things that we took as mandates. The
Right.
social distancing, the masks,
Right.
I don't think we have a ton of latitude to make decisions about that on our own. That generally has come down from the state.
Right, so for example, the social distancing is a perfect example of, the state said 3 feet, the World Health Organization said 3 feet, and CDC was out of step, but they were at 6 feet. Right, so they eventually changed to 3 feet, but it's just I think it's a matter of just timing and reconciling the whole thing. If the cup is half full, we always try to be optimistic in our mindset. If the cup is half full, it's July. It's the second week of July. We're not at, we have students in summer school, which we feel we are kind of operating very safely. We have nurses on staff. We're kind of keeping an eye on, how kids are doing and how they're progressing. So we feel like we are in a good space right now. We're following the current guidance that came out from the Department of Ed, which stated that we can, if you are vaccinated, you do not need to wear masks, and or children do not need to wear masks in the summer program. And that's what we're doing right now, unless a family or child chooses to wear a mask. And some children are choosing to do that, and we will, of course, support them to do that. Yep. So again, we don't have our, kind of a full update, but when we do, we will kind of bring it to the table, and we will report accordingly. Thoughts, questions before we move on? A quick human resources update. I know Bob will share more information when he comes to the table and talks a little bit about facilities. But Bob Shiroli, who's here with us in studio tonight, our Director of Facilities, will be transitioning to another facilities position in a town a little bit closer to home. And so we think that move is going to be good for his family. And we certainly will miss him here, and that he's done an exceptional job for us. He likely will be transitioning at the end of August. We currently have the position posted, and we've done a few interviews. We will be completing interviews when Christine Bufagna comes back from her vacation. She's not here this evening, she's on vacation. But we will have more information to report in our next meeting on that position and how we're progressing. And I know Bob will have a little bit more to say when he comes to talk a little bit about facilities. I also wanted to report, in staying in line with human resources, that we received an ESSER grant for COVID-related expenses, and we are looking at prioritizing student support as we open school in September. We are going to be adding an adjustment counselor, actually 2 adjustment counselors, one at the middle school and one at the high school. And we will be adding a school psychologist, 2 school psychologists, one at elementary as a tester, to test for special education services, and one at middle high, which will test for special education services. And so the tester, the one school psychologist that is dedicated to test at the elementary level, our kind of working theory is that will free up other counselors to provide additional counseling services, and those counselors that are in the building have the closest relationships with students, so we feel that they would be most effective in that space, and we can kind of lessen the load at elementary, middle, and high for the increased amount of testing that we have due to COVID, and just the backlog because of trying to get access to students. But those are funds that we are prioritizing. These are one-year positions that will be funded through the grant that we will revisit in the budget process in the spring, right? But these are one-year positions. And so we are also adding, we had a .5 reading specialist position at Woodville. And so we were able to reallocate and amend the Title I grant. Kara worked on that, and Kara was able to dig up some money for us and actually create an additional .5 reading specialist. So that makes a 1.0 reading specialist that will be a full-time equivalent at Woodville, which we feel like will be just a really huge help for Woodville Elementary. And Woodville is our only Title I elementary school in the district. So we know that there's a student demand there, and we've been able to reprioritize resources and get support there as well. But I did want to share that information.
Sorry, Doug.
Yes.
Just a question, the ESSA grant that you spoke initially?
Yes.
How much is that grant for?
There's
Roughly?
there's a few, there's ESSER 2 now and ESSER 3. So ESSER 2, I want to say, is a magnitude of $80,000. And ESSER 3, I don't have the exact amount, Michael,
Okay.
right? But they also.
Bigger, smaller than
I
two?
feel like
It's bigger.
Isn't
Okay.
it like
It's-
300 or
It's-
280?
I think it's in the hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
Okay.
But I don't have the exact amount, Mike.
Just curious. from a
But I can
budget
get it for you.
perspective. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So I also want to just share in my updates and announcements that on Thursday evening, there will be a design selection panel as part of our MSBA work for the new high school, which will be reviewing designers, architectural firms that will be facilitated by our project manager, Shane Nolan, in left field. He's presented here at school committee, but he will be facilitating that meeting. MSBA will have up to 13 members on it. There's also space just in the designer selection for 3 members from the town, 2 from schools, 1 from the town side. So we will be present at that meeting on Thursday night. And it's really just to review the submissions that have been made. We have 10 firms that have submitted packets to be the architectural firm that will design a new high school for us. So that's an update there. And that's all I have for comments and updates. I can move on to, if I could take, go ahead, Mike.
I just noticed, I don't know if it came out yesterday or the day before, the meeting with Rosie on September 1st. That'll be great for
Yeah.
everybody to get a chance to
Yeah.
meet her.
Yeah.
And then it's monthly after that? Is
Yeah.
that- Yeah, so
Yeah.
great news.
Yeah, and so, and I also should, and it's a good reminder, Michael. So as of July 1, Meg Webb officially has started as principal at Galvin, and she's doing her kind of entry meetings. She's met, I think, with about 30 faculty and staff members already, and she's continuing a kind of a daily meeting schedule with faculty and staff to come in. I know she put a letter out welcoming, just kind of giving a little bit of information about who she is, and I'm really looking forward to the work. I was over and I met with her yesterday, and I was also over visiting the summer school yesterday. Between extended year service and Wakefield Academy, I think we have about 550 students. If you drive by Galvin in the morning, you'll see the parking lot's full, and it's full because there's a lot of faculty and staff there, and it's going really, really well.
Is that the most we've ever had?
Well, we have two programs. So because there are two programs, it's not, we've had that number before, but it's really going well. Estelle Burdick is really doing a great job with Wakefield Academy. Can't say enough about her. And someone who hates the limelight and doesn't even like her name mentioned is Bev Alsowitz and Tammy McDonald are both kind of directing the extended year services, and Bev is just crushing it. She just takes that work on. She's there at 6:30 and leaves at 6:30. Doesn't matter if it's the fall or the summer. It's just what she does. But she's been amazing for us. So
She's been doing that forever. She's awesome.
forever.
Yeah.
She's been doing it forever.
Yep.
Yeah. I was just joking with her about how we need to up her contract for another 3 or 4 years just to lock her in there. Yeah. But she's been great for us.
Yep.
So, other questions?
I didn't hear you speak, Doug, on the grade 7 special ed position that also seems to fall under ESSER.
Right. So we are adding. So our grade 7, correct. And so we are adding a grade 7 special education position at Galvin. And that is also going to be funded through ESSER. It was at the bottom of my spreadsheet,
Yep,
and I
yep,
cut it off.
yep.
Thank you very much. Right? And so, and as the Labor Subcommittee and Finance and Facilities Subcommittee knows, we're also looking at kind of, and we shared some of kind of a reorganization in terms of moving people around to really maximize service for students and to really get us kick-started, with opportunities around STEM and curriculum coordination. You heard that in the meeting before last with Kara. So, but thank you for the
I'm
prompt
curious,
there.
Is there a reason that seems to focus on grade 7?
It's just demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can speak a little to that if
Sure.
you'd like. Yeah, so that position will help. We haven't, Doug's talked about it at several meetings, having an eye on our language-based programming within the district. So the way the Galvin is structured, we feel that there's the need to have a language-based teacher at every grade level. So right now we have a grade 5 and a grade 6, and so we're trying to build the program so that it's ready for students as they're coming up. And we do have a population of students who require language-based programming heading to 7th grade. So that will be the priority for this teacher, to be a 7th grade language-based program, with the idea to then follow that up with an 8th grade to complete the build at Galvin, and then continue up to the high school with the idea, have programs really established and set. We've talked a lot at Galvin around about the language-based scheduling and just having a nice combination of inclusion, but also really specific direct teaching in a small group or one-to-one setting as needed around reading and writing. So there's a lot of good things happening within that program.
Good use of funding.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you've heard it in our subcommittee meetings, but we can let the public and the larger committee know is we are really trying to be thoughtful and prudent with the limited resources that we have. It looks like a lot of resources, but when you start filling position and filling in needs, we have a lot of needs, right? And it's really just on kind of a process of thoughtfully prioritizing. But we really think by using these funds in the way that we are, it really kind of gives us an opportunity to kind of address learning loss, address kind of the deficits that have been created due to COVID. So we're pleased about the decisions that we've made so far. And we will give an update on how things are progressing as we move throughout the fall.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Doug, just a couple more comments on this, just coming out of being a part of the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee. The ESSER funds are given at a period of time and then last usually more than a year, right? So ESSER 3 funds, we get them, but they last for 24 months. 3 years.
Correct.
So we can use ESSER funds and we can say that these are 1 year positions, but like that language-based position feels like something that we're going to need to figure out how to fund going forward, right? All the other ones that you were kind of saying, like, hey, these are 1 year positions, but I think that language-based position is one that we're going to have to figure out how to fund.
Yeah.
But we've got a little bit of runway because the ESSER funds will continue, will allow us to continue keeping that while we find room in the budget to kind of support that long term. And then we haven't even talked about ARP funds yet, right? So we're not even there with kind of the federal funding that's coming our way.
Yeah, there'll be more information to report on that. We do know that the ARP funds that are coming to the town, priorities from the town side will be to fund the 4 positions that were cut out of the budget a year ago. That's a $360,000, or I'm sorry, that's a $400,000 offset that they're reinstating back into the budget. The $360,000 is for COVID-related positions that were voted on separately, right? And so they'll also be refunding special education stabilization, when I say they, Steve Mayo and his team. And so that adds up very quickly, and I've talked with Steve about that, and I know that he wants to be as aggressive as he can be, but every meeting he has, people are prioritizing that money to be spent. It's been spent 3 or 4 different times already, right? And so that also has a little bit of time. There's a 3-year window to manage that money. That money likely will be spent, in 40%, maybe year 1, 30%, 30%, years 2 and 3. Like our ESSER money will be spent, in a larger ratio and proportion in year 1, this being year 1, to address needs and offsets and really be thoughtful about how we're going to kind of manage that over time. But, Susie brings up an exact scenario of positions that need to be kept over time. We need to figure that out, right? And part of that process, and a question that we always get is, if we can afford it in the regular budget, will we look for resources or kind of ways to reprioritize money within the regular budget to do that? And the answer is always, right?
Okay.
Good. Longer update than I think I thought it would be. So I'd like to just go out of order. Kara's going to talk a little bit about summer programming, but I'd like to invite Bob up just to give an update on facilities and kind of where we are. Bob has a number of irons in the fire in regard to furniture that is packed in storage units and unpacking things and cleaning, etc.
Thanks, Ian.
I thought you were going to get 2 mics there for that. I was going to say it's impressive.
Stereo.
Thanks, Doug. As Doug mentioned, I have, first and foremost, I guess I accepted a new position, much closer to home. So it's kind of bittersweet, over the last 2.5 years. Doug, Kara, Christine, a lot of the leadership team, the ladies in central office and principals have been excellent to work with. It's been great to work with and learn from Doug and Kara and Christine, and I can't say enough about them, and thank you guys for everything you've done, during my tenure here. To everyone on the school committee, I know a lot of new faces, some old ones who've been here since I started. Just want to say thank you guys as well for all of the support that you've given me in the things that we've needed to do. I know the last year and a half have been very challenging on everyone, and you guys have been great. So thank you as well. And as Doug mentioned, I'll be here to help transition, help however I can to make it a smooth and seamless as possible. It's always difficult no matter how you go, but we'll do what we can.
So I miss seeing your basement, Bob.
I sold that wooden stand-up paddleboard bike, so it's a blank wall now. So I guess I'll get into it a little bit. So this is the busy season, right, for most school districts over the summer, trying to clean the schools, get them prepared for next year. Everyone usually thinks, oh, the summer's downtime, right? No one's doing anything, but principals, administrators are busier than ever planning for next year, and the custodians, right? They've worked hard over the past year and with COVID and everything, and now they're just still grinding away, and they're doing their summer cleaning. It was a little struggle at first to get summer help, right? I'm sure as a lot of you guys know, help for not just part-time jobs but full-time jobs. With the economy, many people aren't going back to work, so it's been a struggle, but we are fully staffed for summer help right now, so that should be a good benefit to our district in getting the schools cleaned. So with that said, I guess I could jump right into some capital projects that we're doing, right, that have been approved. So I could kind of go down the list. We've already completed a few of them. So first and foremost, at the Doyle, we have a pretty large project where we're doing an asbestos abatement. So over the past week, we've abated a large old cast iron boiler in about 5 areas in rooms, a couple hallways that had either asbestos on the mastic or on the tile. So that's all been abated, and the retiling should be completed by the end of this week. So that actually went a little quicker than I anticipated. So that's a big win over there. We really don't have to worry about tiles popping up and having any asbestos in there. So that's a big one over there. Between that and last year getting the sprinkler system in, I think the Doyle's looking pretty good right now. I just don't know if there's enough space for all the kids we have now, right?
Bob,
yeah.
real quick on Doyle, did the paving ever get done in the parking lot?
So yes, last year, Joe Conway actually added 10 additional spots right when you pull up to the school. And then this year, since we started pickup and drop off to go around the school, that a lot of that asphalt is crumbling. So I believe the DPW and Joe plans on doing that probably later in the fall.
Okay.
So if you guys remember when there was pickup and drop off, it was always in the front of the school, but the cars were flowing out onto the main road. It was just becoming a hazard and a danger. So I worked with the police. We came up with a plan to have cars loop around the school to do pickup and drop off. But to your question, yes, Joe is planning on paving the remainder of the school around.
Okay,
Yep.
I just know we've talked about that a couple times,
Yep.
not as capital projects necessarily, but things that still needed to get done.
Yeah, he plans on doing that. So.
Okay, thank you.
We were approved for a new snow machine at the Galvin. The Galvin has probably the most sidewalks and most space that we need to clear as a school and the custodians. And just the piece of machinery, the front loader tractor we had just wasn't quick enough for doing the job fast enough. So this machine will help us to clear the snow a little quicker and more efficiently. So that's a big win. With COVID, we have the water bubbler situation, right? So kind of the mixed messages, can kids push the button, drink from the fountains? We have some schools that have water filling stations, many that don't. So we had phase 1 last year. We installed a few water bottle filling stations, and then this year we were approved for phase 2, and we'll be moving forward with that. The DPW will be installing those as the water bubblers come in. But like many things in products, there's delayed in manufacturing and shipping, so we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Yeah.
So the waters that have been shut off all year, are they all being replaced, or are those going to eventually be turned back on?
So they will all be replaced. The plan is
Okay.
to have every school have water filling stations, at least
Okay.
1 per floor.
Okay,
Let me rephrase that, 1 per floor.
okay. And so when those pipes get turned back on, is there going to be some sort of mitigation that's
Yep,
going to?
we'll do flushing. So we
Okay.
usually a couple weeks before school even starts, we will work with the water department and we flush
Okay.
the schools to make sure any sediment or anything stagnant water sitting gets flushed out.
Okay.
The water department they do testing at the high school every Thursday
Okay.
per state guidelines. So they're continually tracking the chemicals and levels in the water, so
Okay.
to make sure it's clean and safe.
Perfect,
But,
okay,
yep.
thanks.
No problem. The Woodville Playground, Stephen, I'm sure you'll be happy to, right? Happy to hear this. The Woodville Playground was approved to be replaced. Just working with Dennis Fazio, he's working as fast as he can to get that done, but the timeline is still to be determined, just depending on materials and when they can get people in there to take that down.
I feel like,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you know if the parts got ordered?
I haven't talked to Dennis lately. I know it was briefly designed, but I
Yeah.
need to follow up with Dennis in the coming weeks to see where he is with that.
I think that would just be the curiosity, is if parts got ordered and then if the manufacturer supplied a timeline.
Yeah, I could definitely find out and get back to you. No problem. So that's kind of, and the one other big project is, for, IT department, their Galvin, projector replacement has been approved. So I believe it's 92 projectors off the top of my head that are gonna be replaced over there. So that was, excuse me, that was approved. It was a big ask, but it's definitely something that was needed. So that's a big win for the IT department.
Did they reuse the ones from the old Galvin? Is that why you're replacing them so soon after the new Galvin?
So they have these projectors. They have a lifespan
Oh,
to them. So Jeff has a plan every X amount of years for the projectors in the district to be replaced. So he's going to take the projectors and the Galvin that are replaced, kind of use them as spares if other ones throughout the district go down. So that's kind of what he's been doing. But yeah, there's a lifespan to the projectors, to the lenses or the battery life. He has looked into it to have them repaired, but the cost is it's comparable.
Yeah.
It's like building a new high school and renovating it, right? It's almost the same. So you're better off getting the new technology for the same amount of money.
good, thank you.
The new one should probably last longer too now with the LED stuff, right?
I wish I could answer that question. I'm the facility guy.
I believe the old ones were LED.
Oh, got it.
Like
Oh, they were?
Right,
Yeah,
well,
I
'cause
believe they were.
the age of
Okay.
the school, they would have been LED.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they still, it's their constant use. They're not like
That's
home
true, yeah.
projectors. The amount of usage that they get through the school system is, you don't see that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So their
house.
lifespan is shortened.
Yeah,
So I
and
think
they're
in
turned on and off more often.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone thinks, well, how many hours if they run continuous running? But
Yeah.
it's like starting a car. The more you turn it on and off, the more you're wearing the parts.
I'd be curious, so 92 projectors, that's a lot. Do we have that amount in any other school?
I think the plan was initially for more than that, and I think we've scaled that
Yeah.
way back. Because I think we're looking at doing larger blocks for a number of schools.
Yeah.
And so I think we scaled that back, and so I think it's gonna be done over a series of years. And so,
I think I remember that, but I'm thinking, so in terms of 92, like, 92 projector seems like it might almost do like 2 elementary schools, or, especially if it was like the Walton and the Greenwood, just because they'd be smaller schools. It'd just be interesting how that cycle works out. And then, I don't know how many we have in the current high school or how many we're projecting for the new high school.
yeah, I think, just as an update, I think what we can do is we can have Jeff Weiner come and give an update on the tech plan.
Perfect.
He can talk a little bit about, not only about capital, but also about where we are with current management of grants and information, and where we are with wireless for our students, but also where we are with the overall technology plan for the district that has been kind of reinvented a few times due to COVID now. But it would be nice we can have him in August just to give an update. Yeah. And I'll give you a break.
Thanks. And I guess in closing, right, as Doug mentioned, it's great to see Wakefield Academy and summer school back at the Galvin again after 2 arduous years of coring and drilling and putting geopiers in. So it's great to see the kids back there, right? And the big question, I think, as Doug also mentioned, is towards the end of the summer, what's the guidance going to look like? We have all these storage containers with additional furniture from classrooms that we moved out to create space for social distancing. So that's one thing that we're still, we could plan A and B, but we don't know which way we're gonna go, dependent on the variants of COVID or how things play out. So, like I said, the guys and the custodians are still cleaning the schools. Once they're clean, kind of towards the end of the summer, mid-August, we'll make that decision on what we're going to do with the additional furniture, whether bring it back into the building, if social distancing in the classroom isn't required or suggested, or leave it in the containers. So I think that's something that we just need to play by ear. And there's a lot of other stuff going on, but I think those are the big ticket items.
Any questions for Bob?
Thanks for all you did, Bob.
Thanks.
We're
Good luck.
terrific. We're gonna miss you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying you'll be missed. And I think everybody in administration had a tough job over COVID, but I feel like you had a really interestingly difficult job with cleaning and social distancing and what to do with the equipment, and there was just a lot that you juggled and juggled it well, which I think makes it that much more bittersweet to have you leaving, because I think we all would have loved to have you stay for many, many more years. But totally get the need to balance work and life, and what an opportunity to be able to do a job, the job you want to do in the community that you live in. So
Yeah, no,
I think we all get it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I couldn't have done the past year without the support and guidance and help from everybody on the administrative team. It wasn't just me. Trust me, we've had many meetings and many ideas and had to change on the fly.
Yeah. Pivot, right? Christine's word, pivot.
You're gonna miss the tents, aren't you? The
Tents.
Maybe we'll have a party before I go. under one of them.
Thanks again, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you guys.
Good luck.
Thanks,
Good
Tom.
luck, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Kara's gonna report a bit about summer programming and also our acceleration work.
So I think Doug kind of talked a little bit about the summer programs that were presented on at our last meeting with the Wakefield Academy programs, Summer Warriors and the Enrichment. All of that started last week and has gone really well. I know, like Doug said, Estelle just continues to try to make things better, and I was over there last week as well. It just seems to be running really smoothly. She has a great staff, great turnout of students. And then the special ed component of the summer program started up this week, and Doug spoke to Bev Elsowitz's work on that. Again, I think has gone off really well. We touched base a bit about that. She has a wide variety of special ed tutorials happening, therapies, programming, all really focused on students' individual goals. So that's all started up this week at the Galvin. And in terms of the acceleration academies that we talked about at the last meeting, so we did, just to recap a little bit, Wakefield did apply for a grant, and we were approved to run an early literacy academy this summer, as well as a math acceleration academy. And the early literacy, we made a decision to focus on all of our incoming kindergarten students. And math, we are focusing on students identified based on our assessment data and wherever teacher recommendations and need for incoming 8th graders and incoming 10th graders. So I'll start with the Early Literacy Academy. We have just a phenomenal group of teachers. We're fully staffed right now. We're able to run early literacy academies for all of our incoming kindergartners. We basically looked at the draft class lists, and we split the classes in half. And we have every student is given the opportunity to come one of the weeks. So we're running over the course of 2 weeks, August 16th through the 20th, and August 23rd through the 27th. And class sizes are small. They're averaging about 8 to 10 is really the average. We can have class sizes up to 12, but they're averaging to be really nice. We've communicated out. We sent individual emails to all of the families in our incoming kindergarten, all of our incoming kindergarten families. We sent translated messages. We've advertised on social media. We've had staff reach out to parents, and the efforts are really working. I would say we have. I didn't tally up the total numbers of confirmed spots right now, but I'm highlighting every student as they're confirmed, and majority of our cohorts are coming. So our deadline, we put a soft deadline of Friday. Please let us know by this Friday if you can attend. So we're really excited. We had our first planning session with our early literacy teachers last week, and we started the work of designing themes per day. We're going to have a different theme each day that's all focused on literacy. We have 2 specialist teachers who will be working with us and designing library and media activities, hands-on activities around the theme of the day. We're trying to incorporate some play-based learning. We're going to do some work with foundational reading skills, as well as exposure to some more complex text, and give students opportunities to respond to read alouds or small groups in writing. So we're really excited. We kind of we're joking that it's like we feel like we get to design our own school however we want. It's been really fun. The energy, enthusiasm is really, it's exciting. So we're thrilled to have all of the students come. I've had great conversations with parents. We're really we set it up so that we're just being as flexible as we can with families, because we know it was, somewhat last minute. A lot of early childhood elementary parents, they plan out their summers well in advance to have care. So we knew we kind of, by sending out the invitations went out on July 2nd, that it would be, somewhat short notice. But but we've been able to, with the way our numbers are running, if one week didn't work that we put out, usually we're able to switch it for a family or accommodate. Maybe they can only come 2 or 3 days. We're like, great, it's better than not coming at all. So we're really trying to be as flexible as possible to get students through the door. We're also working with families and our staff internally who have identified students that might have some special needs or need some additional accommodations, and we're supplementing that through local budget to be able to add some additional staff where it's needed. And then Lindsay Mosca is our math curriculum coordinator, and she's helping to lead the Math Acceleration Academies. So again, we're fully staffed, have a great group of teachers who are able to commit the time. And she has gone through student data, teacher recommendations, and sent invitations out to families for incoming 8th graders, incoming 10th, who would meet that criteria. And she's got the backup list as well, because again, it was somewhat short notice and hard to commit to the full week. So she has had some students who aren't able to make it. So she's just kind of going back to the drawing board and just trying to really fill the spots, because it's just such a great opportunity. We'd hate to let spots go empty. So we're trying to really work on that. So I'll be touching base with Lindsay again this week.
It's interesting. We have creatively been able to start some different programs and then figure out how to make them part of our standard practice. For example, a few years ago we started a grant with SEAM Collaborative to do work around kind of intervention, to provide intervention services for students in regard to behavior, right? And we're one of 13 or 14 districts that took part in this collaborative work with SEAM, and everyone is really focusing on this giant grade span, from pre-K to 12, and they were working with a few teachers from this grade and a few teachers from this grade. And really what we did is we really just narrowed in on a K2 window. And we thought if we could really thoughtfully coach and support students early, they would be more successful as they got older. We took that and we kind of grew that vertically. And basically we use that resources, other personnel that we use through SEAM, and now they support us vertically and really pre-K through 8. And I bring that up because likely this acceleration idea, we had an opportunity to prioritize how we thought best for Wakefield. And in working with Kara and working with Christine Bufagna, we really thought, a vulnerable population are our kindergarten kids, right? So why, spread a little bit over every grade when we really can prioritize? And this likely, I'm not saying it will, but if this is for better or worse, a pilot, let's say, right? We're doing this work through a grant. But if we look at this through a pilot in regard to what we can learn, this might be standard operating procedure and welcoming our kindergarten students into school before they actually start. It's like a soft opening, right? And what safer way to do it than half days, you're with a few classmates, it's like a soft start for
Absolutely.
and to welcome students and families that are new to our district. And I can't think of a better way to do it. So more to follow on this, and more we will be reporting more as we work through it.
The response has really just been so positive. I've loved interacting with the incoming kindergarten parents. They're just so excited, and they're like, thank you for this opportunity. It's just, because it's really coming also from a social emotional lens too. So, the DESE guidelines are very, literacy focused, and this is what it should be. But we're also keeping in mind these are babies, they're incoming kindergartners who are coming to their home school for the first time. And so we're all, in our planning session, we were all kind of talking a little bit about that. And, the work that we do this week, just even the exposure, the seeing classmates who will be familiar to them in the fall, seeing some familiar teacher faces. That's just going to increase readiness to learn in the fall. So we're really excited about that. I will make just one facilities note. So we are able to host incoming Woodville students at Woodville, incoming Dolbear at Dolbear, incoming Walton at Walton, but we did make a decision to have incoming Greenwood students pair up with the Walton students because of AC. We're a little bit worried about air conditioning not being what we would need it to be at the Greenwood in August. So we have paired up the incoming Greenwood students at the Walton, which is nice, because then that really creates 4 cohorts of students happening at the same time at each of the buildings. So that was one decision that we had to make around facilities. So. But yeah.
So Kara, the Walton and the Greenwood kids will be in different classrooms, but at the Walton.
Yeah, so they'll be in 4 different classrooms at the Walton.
Got it. So the only thing that they're not getting is the Greenwood school experience.
The Greenwood school,
They'll get
correct.
the teacher and the kid.
Yes.
Got it.
And we did not get, it would have been, perfect if every single kindergarten teacher in the district could commit to the time. Not all could,
Yeah.
but we did get all Wakefield Public School teachers who had early childhood background experience. We did get a lot of our kindergarten teachers who were able to commit, but of course not all.
Yeah,
It didn't work out that perfectly in June. It would have been nice, but.
Yeah. Kevin's got a question.
Yeah.
Just a couple questions. And you mentioned that the kindergarten program is half a day. What about the math?
They're both the same, same hours, 8:30 to 12:30, Monday through Friday.
And then the other question I was wondering, in broad strokes, is what I mean by this. Like, what are the outcomes that you're hoping in a relatively short period of time? I mean, even just some of the social ones make sense, getting especially the younger students into the classrooms. So can you kind of broad stroke some outcomes?
Yeah.
Because if this is going to be a pilot, how are we going to assess that those outcomes are being met?
Correct, yeah. Go ahead.
In broad
Yeah,
strokes.
no, the department has issued an acceleration manual. Light reading, which is really our kind of looking at kind of the pre and post idea
Yeah.
of, assessing students when they come in and then assessing students when they leave. We will do that in a developmentally appropriate way, right? And so we have a little bit of latitude, like Kara was saying, with our kindergartners, but it will give us an opportunity to kind of assess phonemic awareness, letter recognition, color recognition, just kind of to get a sense of where they might be in their learning, what they might have been exposed to or not exposed to. And there's no right or wrong. It's not an assessment for a grade. It's a developmental assessment. And so that's what we will be looking at in regard to kindergarten. In our math acceleration, we're going to be doing kind of the same pre and post work, but it will likely be kind of associated with preview review work. Right, and so if you are a rising 8th grader, right, you will be kind of assessed on, or we will make a determination of where you are in regard to how solid you are with skills, going from grade to grade, but we will also be accelerating that to kind of move into kind of the next grade level and do some review work that will prepare students to enter and start in the curriculum that they're working in. But it's only a week.
Yeah, right.
It's only
That's
a
what I'm
week, and
wondering.
so it's a nice opportunity for math, in that it gets students back into that space of kind of being engaged mathematically, being engaged with the work. I think it's going to be a nice space, and that too might be a glimpse of work that we're going to see in the future. And the timing is actually good. When I say the timing, it's late in August. It's close enough to the start of the school year, but far enough out. It's a half day, so the timing, both in regard to the daily schedule and in regard to the calendar, we think is going to be a benefit for our math students and for our K students. But
That's great. Thank you.
Do we have an idea of percentage? I mean, it seems like you think that we're getting really good engagement. I'm just curious if we have an idea of percentages.
Oh, geez, I can get you the exact number. If I had to guess, I'd say I think we're definitely at 80% right now.
Great.
I do, just looking at, as I quick glance across, who we've
All
sent
your
invitations
highlights.
to. Yeah, all my
Yeah.
yellow highlights, yeah.
That's
It's an
great.
average,
No,
yeah.
that's all I was wondering, was sort of an overview. And then, just like to your assessment idea, when you say assessments and like we're gonna assess, you know, you said like you as a student, but are we looking to assess sort of the program or the student in a short window? I'm wondering where the value is I'm thinking we're assessing the program, more or less.
I think we're doing a little of both,
Okay.
right? I think we're doing a little of both. The notion of acceleration, from Jeff Riley's perspective, it's about, giving kids an opportunity to hit the ground running and to really just do very well very quickly, right? And so, but developmentally, our 5-year-olds, we're doing literacy work at age 5 is different than it is at age 12 or
Right.
at age 14. So that's going to look a little bit different. And so, so when you say, I'm not sure I understand your question, when you say we'll be assessing the program.
I'm thinking if we aggregate the data, I'm thinking it's going to be easier to see if we have successes if we look at the program as a whole.
Yeah.
Are we moving the student body in a positive direction?
Yeah.
As opposed to if we're moving like John Smith or
That's exactly those are the metrics that we will look at and report out on. That won't be, percentile of, students are at X and now they're at Y.
and it's going to be sort of an internal number.
Correct.
That we use as a metric. We're not necessarily, we're not reporting that out.
No. There'll be, we will have more information around the requirements for the grant that we will be reporting out on in August.
Okay.
So, because we're still kind of processing the Acceleration Academy manual that the Department of Ed has put out. It's very detailed, and so we're going through that, but we will report out accordingly.
Okay. Thank you.
But you're spot on. It will be in the aggregate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will there be parent as well as teacher feedback at the end of the program?
That's a great question.
Great question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, we've already started the work of planning together with the teacher group. We had our first meeting last week, and then they held another planning session once we identified our direction and we created a sample schedule. So the idea, again, is to have consistency across all of the programs. Even though we have different teachers, we're going to have same lesson plans, same schedule. We have specialist schedules all mapped out, so they're really working as a group to stay on the same page. So they started that, really digging into the lesson planning side of things today. And I anticipate continuing to meet with them along the way, regrouping after the first week, what tweaks do we need to make, and then I could definitely see meeting with them at the end and just getting an overall amount of feedback on how things went and what will we do different. The parent piece is a good idea. I could probably put together a survey at the end that we could issue out to parents just to see how their child's experience was and give
just
some
like
feedback.
a couple of questions just
Yeah.
to see, was it terrible, was it fantastic,
Yep.
and then you can grow from there. If it's something we are going to try to do going forward, it'll be nice to see
Definitely.
where we can improve and what we're doing good.
Absolutely. And I think, from what I'm seeing in terms of response rates, with such a short turnaround time, if we really have the time to promote and, get the word out early and, let parents know that this is something that their child will have an opportunity to do, I think it would even be that much better.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Kara? Doug? Good, okay.
That's it from us tonight.
Okay. All right, then we're on to subcommittee reports. We have not met, I don't believe, since the last meeting, but we have a meeting scheduled this Thursday. So we'll be regrouping this week. Tom, do you have an update for labor and personnel?
I don't, in the same way labor has not met since the last meeting.
Okay. Mike, student services?
Hey, we actually met. So last time we didn't have any report. So we met on the 30th of June, and we've been trying to get through a fairly substantial list of wish list items, I would guess. And I think we got through the remainder of those ones at our last meeting. And some of the things we've talked about is creating enrichment programs regardless of what end of the learning spectrum you might be on in that regard and how we can address that. We talked about the SOS student survey a bit as well. So we had a really good, robust conversation. There's going to be some feedback from the principals, and then the hope is we'll bring that into the retreat discussion to some extent, and then the hope is post the retreat that we can really start to develop a realistic, achievable set of goals from the student services side right afterwards. So making progress. You know, it's tough when you're not beating in all the transition, but hopefully I would say by early in mid-August, we'll have a reasonably good plan of action in place.
Great.
That's it.
Okay. Kevin?
Yeah, we haven't met either, but, you know, kind of following the lead of what Mr. Boudreau talked about, when we are gonna plan on meeting immediately following our retreat, kind of take the things that we talked about there and really start to map out our goals for the upcoming year. So we're just in the process of scheduling that meeting for that first week of August.
Great. Okay. So as we've been talking about, we do not have a meeting 2 weeks from today, July 27th. Instead, we'll be having the retreat on the 31st, starting at 8, ending around 1:30. Our next formal school committee meeting is August 10th. I know a few people will be on vacation. And I think that's it for future dates. We did have some kind of agenda items come up today. I know Doug, you and I had talked about a Metco update, safe routes. We need to get an update on that. Stephen, you had asked about that a while ago, so that's still on the list.
Okay.
Yep, it's on the list. We need somebody from the DPW to give us, I think it's the DPW, right?
Joe Conway.
Yeah, so we need to get somebody from over there to.
So he sends some information over, but we'll have more in August.
Okay.
So if there's any other agenda items, feel free to send them my way so that we can either get them on. I think August 10th is going to be pretty busy because Christine will be back and we'll be doing a lot of budget and finance kind of updates that need to happen. So with that, I'll look for school committee comments. Amy?
Sure. I just wanted to give a shout out to Wakefield Rec Department. I don't know if anybody here has used them, but it's a great program that Wakefield offers, and if you have kids and you're looking to get rid of them for the summer, or give them something to do, it's really, they offer so many different classes and sports and everything, soup to nuts, everything. So I just wanted to give them a shout out that Dan McGrath does a really fantastic job, and he's got some really great programs this summer, so something for the kids to do. That's it.
Mike?
Just a shout out, probably not germane to our general mission, but they had the Megan Burnett softball tournament this past weekend. It was really cool to see so many softball teams playing all over the place, and what a great honor, you know, having the new field set up too. I'm sure it was a good day, a hard day, but a good day for the Burnett family as well. So just wanted to give them a shout out.
That's good.
Stephen?
Just to thank you again to Bob for his years of service. I got to talk with him a bit recently around some of the things that we had going on at our kids' school, and so I appreciate all the work that he does, and he will be sadly missed. And then we were very excited to get bus registration. So I know we're in July. I feel like we're knocking on the door of September, and whoever, I don't know, we're excited, and our kids are excited. So we're looking forward to sort of a more normal fall, hopefully, and just excited to get in there and do the work. It's great.
Tom?
I'm actually all set. Thank you.
Okay. Kevin?
I don't have anything either. Thank you.
And I don't have anything. So with that, oh, wait, do I do this before the motion? I do have to.
I know you're very excited about that.
So, Mr. Markham, do we have a motion?
Move the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, July 13, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
I'm just glad I'm not near that gavel.
And now I do it.
There you go.
Meeting's over. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.